Okay, so bachcho, we are going to start our lecture with the chemical properties of metals. We need to discuss this. In the last class, we already talked about metals, their structure, their conduction of electricity property, and the malleability, and the general physical properties as well. And in today's class, we are going to start with the chemical properties of metals, right? So let's start with water. Let's talk about reaction with water. The first chemical property is a reaction with water. So if you want to talk about the reaction with water, so you need to keep remember that the highly reactive metals can only react with water easily, right? Or you can say that with cool water, right? So even if you talk about cold water, so highly reactive metals can do this reaction. And the highly reactive metals are potassium, sodium, these two, or you can say that all group 1, right? Or the reaction, we know that we talk about this in the periodic table chapter. So we know that whenever any group 1 metal is dipped into the water, so it will circulate on the surface of water and float on the surface of water, and from what? Alkaline solution along with the hydrogen gas, right? And we can balance this as well if you want to. So just write 2 over here to come and 2 over here and 2 over here. And we know that what will be the observation of this equation. This equation is completely saying that we have one of the product which is gaseous. So you can simply say that the effervescence would be seen, right? This is one of the observation, and you can see this that initially in the start of the reaction we have solid, and in the product we don't have any solid. So you can even say that solid disappears, right? And you can also say that this reaction is actually, we know that group 1 metals are less dense than water, so they can float on the surface of water. So you can even say that, right? Or this is a fast reaction, you can even say it like that. So we have 4 to 5 observation of this reaction, but the very simplest and the very easy is according to the equation. So the gas produced, you can say that effervescence or bubbles of colorless gas, right? Then if you talk about other metals, right? If you talk about magnesium, so magnesium can react with water, calcium and magnesium, but not cold water. Normal water से ये reaction कर सकते हैं. So you can say that if you talk about normal water, cold water means at room temperature, you can consider even, or normal water say calcium, magnesium easily react कर सकते हैं. But the problem is there's that the hydroxides of calcium and magnesium are sparingly soluble in water, right? So if you dissolve calcium into the water, so definitely it will produce calcium hydroxide, but this is too small. बहुत कम बनेगा, बहुत कम, ठीक है ना? So that is why it is actually the very rare reaction, you can say that, क्योंकि बहुत कम बनता है. Insoluble होते हैं calcium hydroxide, sparingly soluble होते हैं. Out of 100 molecules, 1 or 2 are going to be dissolved, so it's like negligible, right? So if you talk about magnesium, so if you want to make it a more fast reaction, or the other elements of the reactivity series or the normal periodic table elements, so if you want them कि वो fastly react करें, so definitely you need to do something. And what we need to do, we need to provide temperature to the reaction. So you can say that they can react fastly with steams. So for suppose if you are considering iron, so it can react with the steam, but steam only, right? At higher temperature it can react and produce oxides, right? Oxide, because they are insoluble in water, and definitely they will produce hydrogen gas as well. A very few amount of this, a very small amount of hydrogen gas, right? This is not a part of your syllabus. They will not ask like this, but they need to ask like this कि यार आपके पास reaction किससे होगा, मतलब हाइड्रो ये पानी से reaction हो सकता है, normal पानी से हो सकता है, या for suppose steam से होगा. So you just need to keep remember कि nozzle जितने भी होते हैं. If you talk about reactivity series, so the reactivity series is definitely we are going to talk about this later.
Then how would we know that the question is asking cold water, normal water?
Yes, I'm saying that if you talk about this one, just look at over here. This is what reactivity series, right? So you need to keep remember that these 3 are highly reactive. They can even react with the normal water or the cold water, right? They are highly reactive, ठीक है ना? तो वहाँ लिखा हुआ होगा cold water, ठीक है ना? वहाँ cold water लिखा हुआ होगा, तो you need to keep remember कि cold water है, तो इसका मतलब ये reaction कर सकते हैं ये 3 खाली. अगर वो कहे आपसे फॉर सपोज वो आपसे कहे कि स्टीम से रिएक्शन कराना है या हॉट वाटर से रिएक्शन कराना है, सो ये कर सकते हैं। हॉट वाटर से डेफिनेटली ऊपर वाले भी 3 कर सकते हैं, लेकिन नीचे वाले जो 5 हैं, ये जो मैजल, इनको मैं कंसीडर करता हूँ, इनको मैं मैजल बोलता हूँ। मैजल, ये जो मैजल है ये मॉडरेट रिएक्टिव होते हैं, ये ठंडे पानी से रिएक्शन नहीं कर सकते। इनको रिएक्शन कराने के थोड़ा सा आपको टेम्परेचर देना पड़ता है, या आप कह लें कि स्टीम से बड़ा फास्टली रिएक्शन कर सकते हैं, ये ठंडे पानी से रिएक्शन नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है ना। ये डेफिनेटली रिएक्शन करेंगे, लेकिन बहुत स्लो करेंगे, बहुत स्लो। मतलब अगर आप देखें नॉर्मली हमारे घरों के अंदर जो विंडोज या डोर्स वगैरह होते हैं, उन पर रस्टिंग होती है, महीनों में कभी जाके होती है, महीनों में, ठीक है ना। तो सेम as it is, if you put the piece of iron into the water, so it will take too longer time to occur a reaction over there. But अगर आप उसको थोड़ा सा टेम्परेचर देते हो तो रिएक्शन विल बी फास्टर। सो यू नीड टू कीप रिमेंबर दैट हाईली रिएक्टिव, इतने रिएक्टिव क्यों है? क्योंकि ये ठंडे पानी से भी रिएक्शन कर लेते हैं, नॉर्मल पानी से भी रिएक्शन कर लेते हैं। ये मैजल मॉडरेट रिएक्टिव क्यों है? क्योंकि ये ठंडे पानी से रिएक्शन बहुत नहीं करते, टाइम लगता है, बहुत स्लो रिएक्शन होता है, बट स्टीम से फास्ट रिएक्शन कर सकते हैं। और ये 3 जो लास्ट वाले हैं, ये लेस रिएक्टिव या लीस्ट रिएक्टिव मेटल्स क्यों है? बिकॉज ये ठंडे पानी तो क्या, गर्म पानी से भी रिएक्शन नहीं करते। इज दैट क्लियर बच्चों?
Yes, sir.
So if you talk about copper, तो अगर आप कॉपर या गोल्ड को पानी में डाल दें तो there will be no reaction, ठीक है ना। इस वजह से we are going to use coppers in jewelries, और हम उसको अपने गले में पहन लेते हैं, हार बना के, उंगलियों में पहन लेते हैं, अंगूठी बना के, ब्रेसलेट बना के हाथों में पहन लेते हैं, और फिर पानी में, बारिश में, हर जगह हम लोग घूम रहे होते हैं। बट द गोल्ड इज नॉट गोइंग टू रिएक्ट विद वाटर, वो उतना ही फ्रेश रहता है जितना पानी लगने से पहले था और जितना पानी लगने के बाद होता है, ठीक है ना, बिकॉज इट इज अनरिएक्टिव, ठीक है बच्चों। Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is a major part of our syllabus, so you need to keep remember this equation. ये equation आपने याद रखनी है, बहुत effectively आपने याद रखनी है। और इन दोनों equations के लिए आपने सिर्फ ये याद रखना है कि calcium can even react with a normal water and cold water, but the rest of are going to react with the steams. इसका equation याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है, इसको देखने की जरूरत नहीं, but आपको बस ये याद रखना है कि they can react, but they can react with hot water, right? Steam means you can even say that hot water, right bachcho? Then let's talk about the second chemical property. If you talk about second chemical property bachcho, so second chemical property is actually with oxygen. So you can say that reaction with oxygen, reaction with oxygen. So what is reaction with oxygen? It is actually the burning of metals. When you are going to burn metal, it is going to produce the metal oxide. You need to keep remember this. Whenever you burn any metal, it will always produce what? It will always produce metal oxide. क्या बनाएगा आपके पास? ये metal oxide बनाएगा। Is that clear बच्चों? हमेशा metal oxide बनेगा, सही है? अब ये मेटल ऑक्साइड्स कैसे बनेंगे और कौन से बनेंगे, या कोई भी इसका फॉर्मूला कैसा होगा, या इसका कलर चेंज कैसा होगा, these are the things to be identified that you need to keep remember. So let's see. for suppose if we have lithium, or if we have sodium, or if we have potassium, we talk about this in the periodic table group 1 as well. So whenever they are going to burn in the presence of oxygen, they will produce what? Oxide, metal oxide. And we know that group 1 के जो metals होते हैं, they always have +1 charge on them, because they are going to produce they are going to lose 1 electron, right? So group 1 metal जो होगा आपके पास हमेशा +1, and oxygen is always 2-. So what is the formula between these two? It is always metal 2 oxide, यानी कि M2O. So you can say that right now it will form what? Li2O. And when you talk about with sodium, so it will produce Na2O. And whenever you talk about potassium, so it is K2O. Is that right, bacho?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And for the balancing, you can say that over here we have 1 oxygen, and over here we have 2 oxygen. So we can write 2 over here to balance oxygen. Once we balance the oxygen over here, like writing 2 over here, now the lithium is not balanced. So we can balance lithium as well. It is 2 2s are 4. So we can write 4 over here, 4 over here, 4 over here, right? Right?
Yeah.
So these are the balance equation for the burning of lithium, sodium, and potassium. And you need to keep remember the color of their ions form on flame, right? If you talk about the flame test, if you talk about the flame test, so this is the new addition in our syllabus that we need to keep. Remember, flame test. Flame test is for metal ions. It is for metal ions. So if you have lithium ion which is going to burn, for suppose आप burn कर रहे थे, वहां पर आपके पास salt बन गया, वो salt burn हो रहा है, तो उसमें lithium ions मौजूद हैं, lithium positive ions मौजूद हैं, so it will show red flame show करेगा ये, रेड कलर का हो जाएगा फ्लेम पूरा, ठीक है ना। इसी तरह जब सोडियम आयन यानी सॉल्ट बन जाएगा, तो सोडियम आयन अगर बर्न होगा, so it will show yellow color of the flame का कलर येलो हो जाएगा। And if you talk about potassium ions, and if they are burning over there, so they will show lilac color, ठीक है ना, a slight purplish shade, right बच्चों?
Yes, sir. सर ये
That
तभी
is
होता है जब लिथियम हो, सॉरी
lithium ion हो,
वो ऐड क्या करते हैं इसके अंदर flame
कुछ भी
test
ऐड नहीं करना, you are just burning the metal right now.
आयोडीन, राइट?
Red is what?
नहीं सर, लिथियम में ऐड क्या करते हैं कि उसका फ्लेम रेड होता है?
नहीं, लिथियम में आपने कुछ भी ऐड नहीं किया। whenever you
Add
burn
नहीं
any salt of lithium, it will show the color of the flame red, वो flame के कलर को रेड कर देगा। बस लिथियम सॉल्ट होना चाहिए, जो भी लिथियम सॉल्ट होगा उसके अंदर लिथियम आयन मौजूद होगा। जब भी कोई भी सॉल्ट लिथियम का बर्न होगा, वो रेड फ्लेम कर देगा, फ्लेम के कलर को रेड कर देगा, ठीक है।
ओके सर।
Okay, so let me send you a video for this, right? अगर आप लोग परेशान हो रहे हैं तो चले मैं आपको एक वीडियो भेजता हूँ। So these are the colors that you need to understand, and remember these are the color for metal ions, right? And we also need to talk about 3 more colors, and that is if for example if you are burning calcium and barium, these are from group number 2. So whenever you burn them, so when you talk about group 2 members, so they have +2 charge, right? Like calcium is 2 plus and oxygen is 2 minus. So when the charges are opposite and the numbers are same, we just combine them. So calcium oxide and barium oxide will be like this, right? These are the what compounds from over here when we burn these metals. And for the balancing, you can write 2 over here, 2 over here, 2 over here, 2 over here. And remember the color of these ions. For suppose if calcium ion is producing over there, right? So it will change the color into orange red, right? It will be orange red, right? If you talk about barium, so it will be barium ion over there, and the barium ion cause light green color, light green. It is pretty cute color, light green, right? And the last one is transition metal that we need to talk about is copper. Whenever you talk about copper, we are talking about copper 2 ions right now. When you burn copper, so it will form what? Copper 2 oxide, right? This is copper 2 oxide. So whenever you talk about copper 2 oxide, bacho, it will show the copper 2 ions show what? Bluish green color, जो कि मैंने अभी आपको भेजा है, blue green flame हो जाता है उसका. Is that right, बच्चों? Right, बच्चों?
Yes, sir.
So these are the colors that you need to keep remember for your ATP as well, and it is the part of your new syllabus, and it would be the must question that you need to solve in ATP this time. So you need to keep remember these colors. It will give you 1 mark definitely, right? Right, bacho? Should we move?
Yes, sir.
Then if you talk about chemical property number 3, so I just want to talk about reaction with halogens. Reaction with halogens. So when you talk about reaction with halogens, so that's the way easier you can say that reactions. If you talk about sodium, if sodium reacts with chlorine, so definitely it will form salt, sodium chloride. And for the balancing, you can balance right like this. Again, if you talk about magnesium, and if you're reacting with fluorine, so it will form what? Magnesium fluoride. For suppose if you have copper and you are reacting it with iodine, if it is forming copper 2 iodide, so it will be copper 2 iodide. Like that. Right. So these are the pretty simple reactions. You can even talk about metals in this way. And then reaction of metals with acid, right? And we already talked about this in acid and basis chapter, reaction with acid. So we know that whenever any acid reacts with metal, बच्चों क्या बनेगा? बच्चों क्या बनता है? Whenever any acid reacts with metal, हमारे पास क्या बनता है बच्चों? We will always have salt and hydrogen gas, right? We know this. We have salt and hydrogen gas. And if I talk about the test for hydrogen gas, तो बच्चों क्या होता है hydrogen gas का test? Do you know the test for hydrogen gas?
Goes off with
Anyone?
pop sound, right?
Yes, it will extinguish with a pop-up sound. That's very good. Sounds good. Chilling. So if we talk about the acids, for suppose I have HCl and H2SO4. So if I react with any of the metal, right, like this, and I'm reacting it with potassium. So when they react, they will form what? Salt and hydrogen gas. So the hydrogen gas is compulsory for both the reactions, but the salt is different. We know that what is salt? Salt is always when H ions from acids are actually replaced by metal ions. So it will form what? Magnesium chloride. The correct formula for magnesium and chlorine is magnesium chloride, MgCl2. And over here, it will be K2SO4. Right, we talked about this earlier. We did practice of this as well. And if you want to balance this, we just need to write 2 over here. And over here, we just need to write 2 over here, right? I know that you all are aware about these reactions. So I just want the confirmation from your side. So here we have a skill test for you. So you need to show me your skills by writing the perfect equations. So show me some reactions, but if you have nitric acid and you are reacting it with ammonium, so what will be the product, and balance this equation? If you have HCl and you are reacting it with sodium, so what will be the reaction products, and balance this reaction as well? And if you have sulfuric acid and you are reacting with ammonium, so what will be the product, and also balance this equation? Do it quickly and send me on my WhatsApp so I can check what you are getting or not. If you talk about these chemical reactions, जो कि मैंने अभी आपको करके दिखाए हैं, these all chemical reactions are not actually the part of syllabus, but definitely the part of many past papers and different chapters, right? So I just conclude all the reactions of metal that we need to talk about in the whole syllabus over here, so you can understand metals easily. जब भी आप metals पढ़ने बैठो तो आपको पता हो ये सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं जो कि मुझे पढ़नी चाहिए, तो इसलिए मैंने सारे एक साथ लिख दिए हैं. और ऑफिशियल जो इस चैप्टर में आपके पास केमिकल प्रॉपर्टी मेटल की दिखाई गई है, that is actually what? Displacement reaction. That is actually what? Displacement reaction that you need to consider, right? And you also know this in this kind of thing you talk about in group 7, substitution reaction. You know that over there the highly reactive nonmetal can displace the less reactive nonmetal from the salt, right? So same as it is over here, but this time for metal. So you can say that highly reactive metal over here, you can say that highly reactive metal can displace less reactive from the salt, can displace less reactive from its salt, right? From its salt. You need to keep remember from its salt is important, because अगर अकेला मेटल पड़ा हुआ होगा तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, दोनों मेटल एक साथ पड़े रहेंगे, कुछ भी नहीं होगा. अगेन द रिएक्टिविटी सीरीज की अगर हम बात करें तो फर्स्ट ग्रुप के मेंबर्स पहले आते हैं रिवर्स होकर, क्योंकि डाउन द ग्रुप रिएक्टिविटी इंक्रीज होती है. फिर सेकंड ग्रुप के मेटल्स उल्टे होकर आ जाते हैं बिकॉज डाउन द ग्रुप रिएक्टिविटी इंक्रीज होती है. और ये जो बाकी के एलिमेंट्स हैं आप मेजल की फॉर्म में याद कर सकते हैं इस तरह. एंड लास्ट में कॉपर, सिल्वर, गोल्ड, ये आपके पास रिएक्टिविटी सीरीज है. सो यू नीड टू रिमेंबर दिस कि ये जो ऊपर वाला है ये साले हाईली रिएक्टिव हैं, मोस्ट रिएक्टिव, और जो नीचे वाले हैं they are least reactive. So you need to keep remember down the group the reactivity of this actually decreasing. So you need to keep remember any of the salt from the downward metals can be replaced by the upper one metals, right? For suppose the very common example of the past papers and your booklets, it will be like आपके पास है copper sulfate. Okay, this is copper sulfate. It is actually copper 2 sulfate. When you add zinc over there, so what happened? You can see this, that zinc is actually more reactive than copper, right? Zinc is more reactive than copper. So zinc can easily displace what? Copper, and वो copper को अलग कर देगा, वो salt बना लेगा, ठीक है? So you can see this, zinc पहले अकेला था, now it lose its electrons and get oxidized. So you can even see this equation in this way, that zinc oxidized, पहले 0 था अब 2+ बन गया, ठीक है? और यहाँ पर copper पहले 2+ था और अब ये क्या बन गया? 0 बन गया. तो copper less reactive था, it become what? Reduced. So you can even say that कि highly reactive metals can highly reactive metal can reduce the less reactive one, the less reactive one, the less reactive metal. So you can even say like this because you know the redox reaction, so that is why I am talking about this thing. So same as it is if you talk about in this reaction, so sulfate is not taking part in the reaction right now in this way कि आप देख सकते हैं कि लॉस ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन सिर्फ कॉपर जो है गेन ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन कर रहा है, जिंक लॉस ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन कर रहा है, सल्फेट देयर विल बी नो चेंज ऑन सल्फेट. सो वी कैन रिमूव दिस सल्फेट फ्रॉम द इक्वेशन. सो वी कैन इवन राइट इक्वेशन इन दिस वे. कॉपर 2+ था पहले यानी सॉल्ट बना हुआ था, जब हमने इसके अंदर जिंक डाला तो जिंक ने सॉल्ट बना लिया यानी कि 2+ आयन बना लिया और कॉपर मेटल बन गया. So you can even say this reaction, and this is actually what this is the ionic equation for this reaction. This is what ionic equation. This is also very important thing for past papers. You need to keep remember this is ionic equation of this reaction. So the one which is not taking part can be excluded from the equation. डेफिनेटली वो टेक पार्ट कर रहा है लेकिन वो जैसे पहले था अभी भी वैसा ही है, हमने उसको इसलिए हटा दिया है. जो मेन रिएक्शन राइट ना हो रहा है वो जो हम बात कर रहे हैं वो किसकी हो रही है, कॉपर और जिंक की, बिकॉज जिंक इज मोर रिएक्टिव सो इट इज डिस्प्लेसिंग कॉपर. तो सल्फेट को ऐसा कुछ हो नहीं रहा है, ठीक है ना. जैसे अगर हम पुराने सब्स्टिट्यूशन रिएक्शन की बात करें तो वहां मेटल का कोई काम नहीं था. फॉर सपोज अगर आपके पास NaBr था तो आप उसमें क्लोरीन ऐड कर रहे थे, तो इधर क्लोरीन इज मोर रिएक्टिव देन ब्रोमीन, सो इट इज डिस्प्लेसिंग व्हाट, ब्रोमीन फ्रॉम द सॉल्ट. सो राइट नाउ अगर आप इस रिएक्शन की बात करो तो यहाँ रिएक्शन में सोडियम का कोई काम नहीं है, बिकॉज द इलेक्ट्रॉन लॉस एंड गेन इज फ्रॉम हैलोजेंस ओवर हियर. सो राइट नाउ यू हैव ब्रोमाइड आयन था और बाद में वो क्या बन गया, ब्रोमीन बन गया. सो यहाँ पर क्लोरीन अकेला न्यूट्रल था और यहाँ पर भी क्लोराइड बन गया. सो यू कैन सी दैट दिस इज व्हाट द गेन ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन. यहाँ पर क्लोरीन ने गेन ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन कर लिया एंड दिस इज व्हाट ब्रोमीन ने क्या किया, यहाँ पर लॉस ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन. So whatever happening in this reaction is only happening on non-metals. तो यहाँ पर इसलिए हमने positive ion remove कर दिए थे, right? They are known as spectator ions. Okay, right now they are not, you can say that, working in this equation. वो पहले भी एक ही इलेक्ट्रॉन दिया हुआ था सोडियम ने, अभी भी एक ही इलेक्ट्रॉन दिया हुआ है. पहले उसने ब्रोमीन को दिया हुआ था, अब उसने क्लोरीन को दिया हुआ है. दिस इज ओनली डिफरेंस. बट यहाँ पर एक्चुअल काम ये हुआ है कि आपने जो इलेक्ट्रॉन सोडियम का था पहले वो ब्रोमीन के पास था, अब वो क्लोरीन के पास आया, तो ब्रोमीन ने अपना वो इलेक्ट्रॉन छोड़ दिया और वो इलेक्ट्रॉन फिर क्लोरीन ने गेन कर लिया. तो एक्चुअल में सोडियम ने कुछ नहीं किया, सोडियम अभी भी उतना ही एक ही इलेक्ट्रॉन लेके बैठा हुआ है. बट द प्रॉब्लम इज विद ब्रोमीन एंड क्लोरीन. सो दैट इज व्हाई इन द आयोनिक इक्वेशन यू मस्ट नीड टू राइट व्हाट is actually happening. So this is actually the ionic equation for this reaction. But right now we are talking about the displacement reaction or the reactivity of metals. So this is actually substitution reaction that we talk about in periodic table group 7. Right, Bacho? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And sometime you will find this reaction as well. For suppose in ships, water ships, when they talk about rusting, for suppose the underground part which is inside the water is made up of iron metal, right? So iron metal can be rust when it is completely in ocean or it is in sea for a long time, so it can be rust. So we can save that iron by magnesium, which is highly reactive. So for suppose for suppose magnesium metal is placed over there, right, in presence of what, in the presence of any other metal, so which is less reactive than magnesium, so it can rust itself, or you can say that it oxidize itself or save the other one. और ऐसा हो सकता है कि फॉर सपोज आपके पास मैग्नीशियम भी और आयरन भी दोनों एक साथ मौजूद हो और अगर यहाँ पर रिएक्शन होना चाहेगा, इलेक्ट्रॉन लूज होना चाहेगा, so you need to keep remember the more reactive can lose electrons first. So you can say that magnesium अपने इलेक्ट्रॉन लॉस करके क्या बना लेगा, मैग्नीशियम आयन बना लेगा, and it will save what, iron from rusting. ठीक है ना. So you need to keep remember highly reactive lose electrons first. Highly reactive lose electrons first. ये हमेशा याद रखें. और less reactive जो होते हैं, less reactive, you can say that they gain electrons first. That is why if you remember in your electrolysis, the less reactive cations receiving electrons and depositing on a cathode, right? But right now you need to keep remember this is actually the reason what जो highly reactive होता है वो less reactive और highly reactive जो दोनों एक साथ होते हैं, तो highly reactive अपने इलेक्ट्रॉन दे देता है, less reactive को उसके इलेक्ट्रॉन वापस देकर उसको चलता करता है, ठीक है ना. तो जब दोनों एक साथ होंगे तो highly reactive is capable enough to lose electrons. ठीक है ना, इसी वजह से फॉर सपोज अगर मेरे पास आयरन का सॉल्ट है और इसके अंदर मैं मैग्नीशियम डालता हूं तो यहाँ पर भी यही रिएक्शन होगा. मैग्नीशियम इज मोर रिएक्टिव देन आयरन, सो इट विल डिस्प्लेस आयरन फ्रॉम द सॉल्ट. आपके पास मैग्नीशियम सल्फेट बन जाएगा और आयरन अलग हो जाएगा. Right, so you can even write ionic equation of this. Again, the equation is same. You can see this sulfate is a spectator ion, so we can remove this. So actually पहले iron का salt था और magnesium elemental form में था. अब magnesium का salt बन गया है और iron जो है elemental form में आ गया. So you can see this magnesium is more reactive, so it is losing its electrons, and iron is less reactive, so it is gaining the electrons back to it. Right, बच्चों? If you want to connect this with redox reaction, so you can say that it is oxidation and this is reduction, right?
Yes, sir.
One more time, if you talk about the reaction of for suppose we have zinc oxide. For suppose we have zinc oxide and we are adding potassium over there. So what happened, bacho? We need to understand this, that potassium form potassium oxide and zinc will be separated like this. And for the balancing, you can write 2 over here, and now the equation is balanced, right? Highly reactive can displace the less reactive from its salt. Is that clear, every one of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
जी बेटे, कुछ पूछ रहा है कोई? Okay, so let's talk about one of the skill test, and you need to write the formulae of the compounds. You need to write the formulae of the compounds from. ठीक है ना, आपने सिर्फ compounds के formulae लिखने हैं. तो for suppose we are going to start with Mazel. So I have for suppose magnesium sulfate. For suppose I have ammonium oxide. For suppose I have zinc nitrate, and for suppose I have iron chloride, and I have what? I have for suppose copper bromide. These are the 5 salts that I have, and these are the metals that I have. For suppose potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium. चले magnesium को अगर हम हटा दें, इसमें आयरन रख लेते हैं, जिंक रख लेते हैं और हम इसमें कॉपर रख लेते हैं. So what are the products? You need to write the products over here, and you need to write the name of the compound. For suppose if you are adding potassium and magnesium sulfate, we know that potassium is highly reactive than magnesium, so definitely it will displace over there, and the formula of the compound which is from is potassium sulfate. So same as it is, you need to complete this table. So this is your skill test. Just start this quickly. This is your skill test. So start this, but
You have to
quickly.
show the displacement or the ionic or both.
Yes, you just need to write the name of the compound form. You don't need to write the equations over here, ionic or full equations. You just need to write the main compound which is going to form. I'm not asking for the metal to form. I'm asking the compound which is formed, right? So this is what the chart that you need to complete. Do it quick, bacho. I just want that you all form correct form.